This podcast is sponsored by DRC Group Limited. DRC Group Limited is an official waste management company based in Cardiff. If you have any waste that needs to go and can't find the appropriate business to do it, look no further than the DRC Group boys. They will provide you with the best service and positive attitude when it comes to solving your waste issues, and these guys are available throughout the week. If you want to get in contact with them, you can look them up on all their social media platforms on Twitter, Facebook, or even Instagram, or even phone them on their number at 07837 256 124. Again, if you want to contact them on all their social media platforms on Facebook, Twitter, or social media, or even their phone number is 07837 256 124. If you're looking for the best quality service and the right people to get rid of your waste, then again, DRC Group Limited is the business for you. Hey guys, and welcome to Dragon's Voice podcast. I am your host, truly Rhys, and on today's episode, I am sat down for the first time actually in person with a former footballer or with an individual, and it's none other than a former Wales international, former Arsenal, Chelsea and Crystal Palace, even a former Barry Town manager, Petr Nicholas. Peter and I nearly sat down for 2 hours, and the amount of editing that I had to get through this, I mean, it was unbelievable how much I had to put in, but it was so fun and so much honest answers. And forgive those who are not a big Barry Town supporter. For the first half hour, it was all to do with Barry Town, but we do get down to the nitty gritty of Wales and Chelsea and Arsenal, etc. But it was so much fun, and we had to move not once, not twice, but 3 times to different parts of the Janet Park clubhouse just to have this chat. And I just absolutely loved spending time with Pete, and we still keep in contact to this day. But without further ado, it's me and Petr Nicholas on the Dragon's Voice podcast. Here in the Skittle Alley, under the clubhouse, at the Barry Town clubhouse, with a former Barry Town manager, but a Wales international as well.
Yes.
I mean, former Arsenal, Chelsea, Crystal Palace twice. I mean, if I've missed anything, just let me know. But it's Petr Nicholas. How's it going?
Good evening. Yeah, it's good, very good. Say that, and health-wise, 2 metal knees these days, and arthritis through my body and that. So,
yeah, I noticed the scars as well. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm other than that, I'm okay.
Yeah.
I'm okay. Yeah.
So might as well, because we're at Barry Town.
Yes.
Normally, when I do the podcast, we always start from the very beginning. But I feel like as a Barry Town supporter, I want to go back to the Barry Town days. Yeah. So the stories are still there. You're still remembered, one of the top 5 managers at Barry Town. And one of the things I got to mention straight out the bat is Porto.
Porto. Well, I'll start really when I was approached by Paula, the chairman at that time, Paula Howland, who the season before I came here, Barry lost the league to TNS. I think it was TNS, yeah.
Yeah.
TNS it was, yes.
Yeah.
They lost the league, and Paula kind of advertised the job. Unofficially, really, in a way, like they all do, the chairmans and people who run football clubs do it always that way. But I was approached by a friend of mine, a lad called Peter Miles, who actually worked for me at that time as a Crystal Palace scout in Wales for me, in Cardiff, that's where he lived. And I was, at that time, I was a Crystal Palace's youth team coach. Being done that for 4 years, once I retired at 32, retired playing through injury, went straight to coaching at Chelsea youth team, Chelsea reserves. Then I came to Crystal Palace, had 4 good years at Crystal Palace. And then in between the 4 years at Palace, I took over with Ray Lewington as kind of joint managers of the first team because the club was going through a lot of turmoil and whatever. So we came to that season, we did okay, we stayed up, we sold I think half the team for a lot of money, and then Steve Coppell took over at the club, and Steve, good manager, you know, excellent player, excellent manager. But that time they asked me then to go back to the youth team. I had a taste of first team football kind of thing and quite liked it. So I thought to myself, do I look elsewhere? I thought, no, not really. I'm at a club I love, which I did love, Crystal Palace. I played joined there as a kid through the youth Yanks and went through to the first team and was very successful at that stage. And then I was doing the youth team. We had a very successful youth side. Some good young Welsh players, some good players who went and joined the first team like Clinton Morrison and them kind of players who went and played in the first team at Palace. So success at youth level, that's what it's all about, getting players into the first team, which worked well. Anyhow, Peter rings me up and says, listen, are you interested in a job in Wales? I said, what job is that? She said, well, Barry Town. So basically I said, Barry Town, yes, go and keep going, because I don't really know much about them. And I didn't, as such. I knew about them. I knew that very successful club at Welsh club level. Always going to Europe. Always were popular with popular players. Some good ex-players that played for the club. Ex-managers who were players as well. Played here. So I agreed to meet Paula and Chris Horst at the time. And I said, well, I'm not coming down to Barry at this moment in time. You have to come to London and meet me. So we ended up meeting in Reading, and I met her, and I said, do me a favour while you're on your way up, bring some videos or whatever you got, a play, I want to see the team and whatever. And
basically to sell you more.
Yeah, basically, yes. So they came up, I think they were quite surprised that somebody of my stature was kind of looking, or they were looking, me have a chance of trying to get me as manager at the club.
Yeah. Because of your previous experience.
Yes.
It's like now, you're former Arsenal and Chelsea, and you're looking at that, and I mean it's big, you know, and especially when you won the Division 2 title with Chelsea and everything. It is going to be one of those moments. Go, oh, the neck, you know. That's
right. It was. I think it was a big shock to them that I was willing to talk to them and sit down with them. And to be fair to Paula, on that evening I met her, and we were there for maybe 3 to 4 hours talking, but different parts of the club. I said, okay, what I'll do, I'll come down, I'll have a look around at the club, see what you can offer me. But in the meantime, obviously I've done a lot of homework, and a lot of people who are new in Wales, and they were telling me about certain parts of the club, going through the situation of the club where, yes, they were a big spending club. They were, you know, in that league, you know, and everybody knows that. So that's nothing to hide. And there's not too much to hide really, because as I said to you, if I'm going to do this interview, I will be dead straight with it all. And then basically I did some homework, got some very, very good vibes, got some bit negative vibes, but I wasn't really that bothered. So I had a game plan. And the game plan basically was for me to come down. Came down on my own when I first came down. The game plan was for me to have what I wanted. I see the future of the club going if they wanted to move forward. Fair dues to Paula, she did say to me that the club needs change, big time. You know, there's certain players have been in the club so long, and basically taken for granted that they were picked every week. Position-wise, there weren't much kind of pressure on players in certain positions to perform to their best. And I think by losing the league that year, I think that really kind of Paula said to herself that she's going to make changes. Yeah. So bringing somebody in like me to the club was a big change. I think a lot of the fans, supporters were kind of weary of big name. What's he going to bring to the club? What's he going to do this? What's he going to do that? I totally understood that. Yeah. I was having, when I first came in, I looked at the squad. I think the squad was then about 20 players. Quite an old squad.
Bit like a dad's army.
Yes, it was really, yes.
Because one of the things that I want to mention as well is I was speaking to one of the supporters who actually was around in the 90s and everything like that, and they always compared it that it was becoming more like the Dad's Army back in 94, when there was a lot of senior players who were reaching their late 30s, early 40s, a bit like Alan Curtis and Terry Boyle when they won the Welsh Cup with Barry. So they were saying that it was getting to a point.
That's right. No, that was one thing which I looked at, and I looked at the team, and to be fair, the team did have some good players. I mean, they were good players. Richie Evans was a great player for the club. I mean, he was at Eddie for the time, and he came to the club a couple of years. Then he was like joint manager with Yorkie and them kind of players. So the structure of the club, I kind of like kept the players I wanted to keep. And there was quite a few players I let go, or I told that they were not wanted at the club, which upset a lot of supporters. I mean, the supporters were quite close to these players, and it was quite a close knit club. I wasn't bothered by that, because at the end of the day, I just wanted to win things and win success and try and get the club the future of the club. So I looked at the overall of the club. There was a lot of sloppiness going on outside the club, off the pitch. There was things going on there which should never have been going on. The training wasn't as good as it should have been for a full-time club. They were full-time at the time. The lackadaisical way of management at that time, that's not criticising any managers, but when I came into it, wasn't professional. It's what I know as a professional football club.
Yeah.
So I made immediate changes. One was the backroom staff. I kept two youngsters on, Craig and Rhys, and they were excellent while I was here. We had a full-time doctor in Dr. Liz. She came to the club full-time. And I had to look at my coaching staff. So Kenny Brown was coming to an end of his career. Had a great career, Kenny Brown.
Yeah, West Ham United.
Yes,
I think.
he did. Yes, so he was at West Ham. So he came, and I met Kenny, and put him as my number 2, a player coach.
Yeah.
And I couldn't ask for a better man, to be fair, than when he came to the club. So then I had 9 players. I had 7 of the original squad left, 9 players, and then when I first met Paul, he said, well, your first game's going to be Ball Vista away in the UEFA Cup.
Yeah.
So that was kind of a
bit of a wake-up call.
Yes, it was, yes.
It's like, oh, shit.
Yes, that's right. And kind of a situation where basically I had to kind of move things quite quickly, but not as quick as I wanted to, because I didn't want to rush into anything, and kind of like, so I said, what pre-season games you got live? None. Okay. Any games at range? None. Okay. So kind of, when we started back pre-season, any pre-season matches arranged, any pre-season training arranged? No. So, straight away, I had to get a squad together, which I did. I brought a number of players in from maybe, basically from England.
Jamie Morley,
Luke Staten, a few other, John French. Jonathan French came in. They were good players.
Yeah.
Lee Phillips came with me in the end from he's a Welsh with Cardiff. Michael Flynn, he came in later on from Newport. So there were players that I watched and I knew about through my scouting system at Palace and my scouting in Wales. So he was a great help. So we get them together, we get a squad of 14, 15 players come in. So then we got to rearrange the organisation of the club. So it was like, start training at 10:30 every day, train twice a day. So kind of things like lunch time. So we have lunch upstairs. We got a girl coming every day and give us lunch, the players' lunch. The diets was back to a normal professional footballers would get. So we're getting there slowly. Big changes for the local lads, because training twice a day, then playing at weekends or when we get games. Organising games was quite difficult, but through my contacts in the game, we arranged a couple of games against Cardiff, a couple of games against other teams over the bridge at Swindon, and didn't want to travel too far really, because that was the aim, was really just get match fit as quick as we could.
And don't exhaust the players on travelling.
Yes, that's right. So anyway, we get Lee Kendall comes in, a good goalkeeper, did well for here, very well. So we end up getting a good squad together. We go to Ball Vista, play quite well, got a bit of a beating, but it's a new team.
Yeah. Ended up on Question of Sport, and
yes.
He said the number, wasn't it?
That's right, yeah.
Yeah, because Selby was telling me that,
yes.
And he was there. He said that when you got to Portugal and everything, that he had to go and rush around and find what could stick onto the back of the goalkeeper Kent shirt.
That's right. And I think that fell off halfway through the game.
Halfway through, and it's like, what the...
So kind of like, that was kind of a bit embarrassing. And when you watch Question of Sport and they show that, you think, oh God, what a mess that club is. But no, but everything was positive. So then I looked at, why did they lose the season? Why did they lose the championship the season before? And basically it was down to a professional. You know, I put it down to that. They took things for granted, the players. Certain players would guarantee their place week in, week out. Doesn't matter if they played, they'd be playing. Wage structure had to change. That was one thing that definitely had to change, because it was just going out of the roof. It was just ridiculous for what you were getting.
Yeah.
So that changed, and anyway, so we came here. That was the start of it all. That was a good start. The footings were in the door. We went through the season. First game of the season, Cymru away. Now, in them days, Cymru was a good team.
Yeah, with Tony Wilcox.
Yes. They beat us 3-1 at Cymru. I remember the date, so here we go. So all of a sudden then I get into the dressing room afterwards, and basically I told the players, if you don't want to be here, you go. If you want to stay, you go with what we want to do. And a week later, I think we went on a run in of about 10 or 12 games. I think we won every game, or basically drew a couple, I think. Then we went off to the bigger clubs like TNS, and we won there. We won at other places, and then we won the league, which is great.
Have it.
Yes, that's right. And then we get the Welsh Cup as well. I think we lost the League Cup, I think, in the final with Caisus, if I can remember.
Yeah,
that was at Aberystwyth.
Yeah.
We lost, I think, 2-1 or 1-0. We didn't play well on the day, fair to Caisus, they deserved that. So we did that good. So, going back to Barry, so all of a sudden then, now we go in to get into Europe. And that was a good experience. Good experience again. We go to Azerbaijan.
Shamkia and everything.
You know, and that was a very interesting trip, which was, again, through major contacts I knew in the game, and that pre-season, I thought we needed a couple of new players, because one or two players were dropped away a little bit, so I thought, right, so a lot of people don't know this. I ended up getting the big lad, I'm just trying to think.
Lee Jarman, is it?
No, Lee Jarman didn't come with me, he came after I left. I rung David Pleat at Tottenham at the time. And I said to David Pleat, I says, and I know I've watched this boy for years, because when I was doing the youth team at Palace, we played Tottenham. This big centre forward they had, big centre forward there playing at Tottenham in the youth team. And he just got on the fringe of the first team at Tottenham, but he needed experience. So I rang David Pleat, who was one of my ex-managers when I played for Luton. I says to David Pleat, I says, any chance you have your big tall centre forward, sorry. I'm trying to think of his name now. It'll come to me in a minute. This is when you get the 61 is a problem.
Yeah. I'm trying to think for you now, because I'm trying to think, because I could picture the lineup.
Yes.
But I can't think.
Well, I'll tell you, so anyway, I'm just trying to think of his name now. He's a big Peter, you know the lad, Peter played for England, Peter Liverpool, Peter, he's on all the adverts these days.
Shelton.
No, no, he's centre forward, this lad.
Oh, I can't remember now.
Peter Crouch.
Oh, Peter Crouch.
So, Peter Crouch, so this is one which, let's go back to that when we start on it again. So anyway, so I ring David Pleat, he said, well, I said, any chance of us having on loan Peter Crouch? He said, I'll ring you back in half an hour. Rings you back in half an hour. He said, yeah, no problem at all. I thought, good, this is a bit of a touch. 6'6" kind of centre forward.
Yeah. Young lad probably at the time.
Young boy at the time. I knew how he plays. He needed first team experience. What better for him than to play in the Champions League? You know, for Barry Town, and then after that, then you go back and happy days, like, you know. So in my wisdom, he's on his way down to come and join Barry, and there was not too many people, only me and Paula knew about this, because we weren't going to let it go out until we actually signed him on loan. In that afternoon, I get a phone call off Jerry Francis, who I played with at Palace, towards the end of Jerry Francis, with the end of his career, and Jerry's manager at Queen's Park Rangers. He's kind of talking to me, he said, oh, you going to Europe? And he said, yeah, we got to play, we're going to Azerbaijan to play, and then we got Porto. well, if we win that game, we got a good fixture. So he rings me, and I let him know about Peter Crouch. Now this is one thing I learned in management straight away. You don't tell other managers what you're doing.
Yeah.
And as I did that, I got a phone call off David Pleat. QPR signed Peter Crouch for £100,000.
Oh, for Christ's sakes.
Yeah. So there I am, 1 minute thinking I've got one of the best younger players coming out of Great Britain for a month's loan, and now I've got nobody. So I've had to look around. Jamie was here, but Jamie was a little bit of an injury and whatever, so...
It's not like you can rely on Jamie a lot, though.
No, we did rely on certain players.
Because in the video footages I see from your time at the club and when Jamie Morley was playing, it did look like that all the attention, a bit like Gareth Bale when it comes to Wales. It's like I was watching the Estonia game, they were all on him, and they were all on Jamie Morley, all the opposition players.
That's right. I mean, they knew how good he was at the time, even if he's coming towards the end of his career at that time,
Oh, here we go.
Sorry.
It's alright, no
Ryan, this is the mad. Do you know Ryan? Ryan. No, Ryan, do you know Ryan? I'm in a podcast, mate, down the club. Thanks a lot, mate. Speak to you later. Bye. That's Ryan. He's a mad Barry Town fan.
Yeah.
Cardiff City. Ryan, what to forget his second name now? He works at the doctors down in Barry there. Been there for years. He comes all the time.
Yeah.
He comes with his dad and things like that. He don't come so much now. He's moved to Bridgend and his wife.
Yeah. I know a few Ryans at the clubs, but if I seen the face,
you would know him.
Yeah, but sorry. Quickly mention it. I gotta say this because when I mentioned that you were gonna come down here and talk about it, and it seemed a bit perfect as well because we're Gavin 491 and everything, and but I thought, another successful Barrytown manager's coming down here, and someone said to me, no, they all said actually, some of the ones who've been there, ask about Gascoigne, and I just went, why? What's Gascoigne got to do there?
Gascoigne, what's the Gascoigne one?
Well, apparently you had a meeting with the supporters and maybe one or two of the staff members, and you said that you were considering, because you needed another striker, like you said about Peter Crouch, that you needed Paul Gascoigne. You contacted Paul Gascoigne, which at the time he was at Everton, I think he was. Right. Now, that could be true, that could be false. No. So I don't know where they got that from.
I don't know where they got that from. No.
Yes.
I know Paul Gascoigne, but I wouldn't bring him to the club. No.
Give him a couple of pints then, if you're alright then.
No, that was never a situation. But, so, anyway, we go to Azerbaijan. So I meet these, I don't know how long this podcast is going to last, like, you know what I mean? But, anyway, once we arrive in Azerbaijan, I got a
Baku,
message, Baku. I had a message from my, because what we had to do, we stayed outside Baku at an holiday resort, because what it was is that it was more financially better for us to go for a week than 4 days. Now, them days is completely different to now.
Yeah.
I knew that, I know Barrytown flew out last year to Iceland or whatever, they went to play their own plane and came back. Well, we never had any of that. We used to the only time when we played in Europe would be into London, get a plane to Baku, and then
be there for the week.
Do it for a week. So what we had to do it for a week. We did the same in Portugal, basically, where we would play the game, have 2 days kind of holiday kind of thing, and then back, just to make financially it would be better for the club than you wouldn't be able to fly in and fly out in them days because the club just wouldn't be able to afford it. So that's what we did. But I was quite lucky because I had some friends over there who were mad Crystal Palace supporters who were very high up with Shell in the oil business, so that's very big in Baku. So they had their own training place, Shell did, their own football pitches and training, because they got to know that the team from Baku didn't know Barrytown, and they wanted to have spies of people watching us train and watching us do things. So they knew that. So they, every morning when we used to go to training, we used to go off into 4 or 5 different kind of minibuses, all black windows and everything, and they'd take us into this private oil refinery where the pitches were. We trained, and there'd be nobody watching us train. So it was really,
Clever.
really was very clever by them, and they didn't charge us a penny.
Oh,
Because
fair play.
Of myself with the Crystal Palace supporters, and so it was fantastic. And that's all he wanted to do then was after the game say, right, we're laying a dinner on and some food on down at their club. Can you come to the club? Which is not a problem. So that's all. That was kind of a thank you for them.
Yeah.
So anyway, so I came up with this great idea, and I don't know if you know the players, and if some of the players, you ever speak to some of the players who played at that tournament. Well, I was asked by the BP people or the Shell people could we bring some kits over for a special occasion? I said, yeah, of course we can. So what's the special occasion? I kept this quiet, and I didn't say it to anybody, but we ended up taking quite a lot of the junior kits that were left at the club shop, and kits over, shirts mainly, because we were visiting an orphanage.
Okay.
In Baku. This was kind of the and I took the players with me. We trained in the morning on the Monday. We weren't playing until the Wednesday, so we just said, come on, we're going to go off to a trip to the orphanage in Baku. And it was a very, very sad moment, or 2 to 3 hours. I mean, really, I expected not what we seen. The players got very, very emotionally upset, quite a few of them. Dr. Liz had to actually get her magic kind of bag out and kind of look after 1 or 2 of the children, you know. It was really bad. And some of the players were kind of so upset by it. So anyway, we ended up giving the shirts away to all the children. But then we found out then that some of the children weren't getting the shirts.
Yeah.
The people who looked after the kids were taking them home for their children.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
As I'm saying, it was just got really kind of, we took like pens and mementos of the club, and as much as we could give away, we took a big, this is what Rhys and Craig put in one of the skips. We took a big skip load of it, and we give loads of it away. Great for the club, but it was so sad to see these children. So anyway, in the evening, we had a team meeting in the evening, because where we were over there, it was nice, but the weather was very warm. I had to control the players of, like sunstroke and things like that. The players were brilliant, really, really professional. A lot of them, have been professionals themselves most of their careers. So they knew the situation. So in the evening, they, I kind of asked them questions about what they thought of the day, and 1 or 2 of them come out. I think it did us a favour, in a way, to kind of bring their feet back to the ground. The boys thinking, we are footballers, and we're not the Manchester Uniteds, or we're not the Liverpools of that time. We're the kind of Barry Town, and we are most probably the best side in the league at this moment in time, proven by winning the league. But you have brought us to the ground, and it did us a world of good, And I 2, 3 players spoke to me recently and mentioned that situation. How great you did to do that. It really brought us down. It really made us think of life. Yeah. To a really big thing, like, it's not just football. There's other things going on. Yeah. So that was a good thing. So anyway, we played a game, and we're playing at this massive stadium, and it's huge stadium, and we played a game, and we win the game. We come back and we win the game here, and it was just fantastic. So anyway, we got this club called Porto now. Yeah. FC Porto.
Who are they, I guess?
Yeah, who are they? And they're the most probably famous club of the Benfica in Portugal. Yeah. So then, that season we go pre-season training, but a few more organised. We've had 1 or 2 games in Europe already. So we end up going to Porto, and we turn up the stadium, and we trained the night before 2 days before the game. No, day before the game at the stadium. And as I was down in the changing rooms, getting changed and making sure that speak to Rhys and Craig and the players, I said, you go on out, I'll be up there shortly. No kicking balls around and things like that, just have a look around, get a feel of the pitch, get a feel of the stadium. Well, I turned up there, I walked up, and I was absolutely gobsmacked. My players having photographs done in the stadium, all in the goals. I'm thinking, hold on, what's this all about? Not knowing in a way because my career's been with Wales and I've been to Germany, I've been to all over the world playing these fantastic stadiums, not knowing it's my own fault in a way, but not and these players are losing it because at Porto Stadium, they think the stadium's, and it was just like a bit of a comic show, thinking all these players having all these photographs done in the goals, and they're like, you like mad supporters or something, like, you know what I mean? I'm thinking, whoa, hold on a minute, we had a professional football team. Yeah. We got a game on our hands tomorrow night, and you won't realise there's going to be 30,000 people in the stadium. And that year, Porto were going through a bad spell. I think they lost the league the year before, so they ended up spending something like £8 million on their team. And if you look at their team, then and you looked at the careers of some of their players who were playing them, they've had fantastic careers. And
they've reached for the stars and everything, a bit like Deco.
Yeah, that's right. That's
Costa, Candido,
yes, Oh, it's unbelievable. So I end up pulling the boys in the centre circle and telling them straight, I said, listen lads, we're not here to mess about, we're here to play a game. You look like a load of tourists. I called the players tourists. That's what they look like. They were like, I said, you look like you're underneath in Parliament in London having photographs, Chinese tourists I call them. Yeah. So I really wiped the floor with them. So all of a sudden, oh God, here they go, like the manager, he's at it again, he's on a case. So anyway, we played the game, we got well beat. I mean, to be fair, we did have a good chance in the game at 0-0. Jamie Morley did miss a good chance.
Yeah, there was like 2 or 3 chances that were made.
Yeah. So anyway, we ended up losing 7-1 or 7-0, I think it was. So we come back here, and we had a great night, great support. The club was fantastic, the fans, and we did ourselves proud. We ended up winning the game, and okay, you can all say they sent their half of their side over, whatever. That's down to them. But at the end of the day, it's on the register. We beat Porto at Jenner Park, and it was great.
Yeah. Was it a bit of a shock to you that when you did beat Porto, you think, it wasn't going to change the game, but it did change the fact that, well, we had a game. We're going to give you a game, no matter who you are, what you've done to us in the first leg, and everything.
I think yes. I think it's spot on with that. I think the thing is, it really hurt the players. I mean, nobody likes to get beat 7-0 or whatever, and we were well beat. And it was men against boys basically, and kind of like, but nobody likes getting beat that many, especially me. Yeah. So when we came back here, there was one thing we were going to go out there and play with a bit of pride. And to be fair, the whole night, the fans, was fantastic. Yeah. Fantastic night.
Let's go on to the playing career now of you, and there's a lot to talk about, and it was like half hour talking about Barry, which I don't regret, so I'm keeping it in. Whoever was listening to it, up yours. I'm a Barry Town fan. Yes. So let's mention the Wales then. We've got to mention a lot of Wales. Just, I mean, from the late 70s to the early 1990s, right? You had a very luxurious career with Wales, proud to be playing for your country, over 70 caps. Yeah. I mean, phenomenal in its own right as well. You played alongside the likes of, let's go with them, I don't know so much in the 70s, but Mickey Thomas, Ryan Giggs was probably there. You got Ian Rush, Neville Southall, Mark Hughes. You're playing with some of the best players. The one thing I want to know, when I want to ask you is, what was it like to be around with the Wales squad? Yeah. And at the same time, it's like looking back now, obviously, Wales, even despite being a small country and everything, you had some of the best players playing at top level football. Why do you think that it's been unsuccessful up until 2016?
Oh, right. Let me just go back to where I started. I got into the squad at 17. No, sorry, just 18. 17, but a month afterwards I was 18 and got into the squad. Now I started in the squad with players like John Toshak, John Mahoney, Brian Flynn, Terry Orrath, Di Davis, God bless his soul, died recently. Yeah. So I was a very, very young person in that squad. Basically just got knocked out of the World Cup with the Joe Jordan handball at Anfield.
Oh yeah.
You may not be alive.
I wasn't alive, but I've seen it. That makes me sick.
So that was the one. So I just joined that squad at towards the end of that season, where the Home Internationals at that time was just starting.
And that's Home International. Is that the British Home Championships?
British Home Championships. Yes. So I started in that squad, and I was we're playing Scotland at Ninian Park. So surprised, very, very nervous, and I was only sub. And that game that day, John Toshak scored a hat-trick. But I came on for 3 minutes towards the end. Terry Hollis got a slight knock. So I went on and made my debut. It was only for 3 minutes. I think I touched the ball twice or something like that in 3 minutes. But to be involved with them kind of players was fantastic. I mean, John Toshak at the time was player manager at Swansea. You had Alan Curtis, Robbie James. There were players who were slightly older than myself, or quite a bit older than myself. Then you had the other end of the players who were quite a lot older than me, like Yoreth, Flynn, Leighton James, Mickey Thomas, Joey Jones. You know, all these players who were really well-known, fantastic, footballers.
Yeah.
You know, Joey at Liverpool, Mickey at Manchester United. You know, Tosh at, great career
with all the
football.
experience and everything.
Oh, it was just, Di Davis at Everton and all these team, these players. It was just a dream. These were the players that I was watching it when I was the age of 14, 15.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, I'm like, age of 18, I'm playing with these players. It's just like, mind-blowing, really.
The one thing I want to mention is another Scotland game. I think it was in the 80s, is when Jock Stein passed away and everything. Now, that game was a pivotal moment for both teams because one of you was going to qualify anyway at Ninian Park. Now, I've been to Ninian Park before it was knocked down and everything, and I look at it and I think it was a tiny, close-knit ground, but looking back then, I mean, it was huge. I think it was probably nearly as big as the old National Stadium. But at that time, what was the mentality within the dressing room going into that match? And also, how did you guys feel when, bless his heart, Jock Stein passed away?
Again, it's a game where it was a situation basically where we knew we had to win the game. Scotland knew they had to win the game to qualify. And again, this is the situation of which we'll go on to the Welsh team now, how close we have been to. I've been quite lucky, unlucky in a way, but lucky to be playing in games where if you played in games you could make history. And it's very difficult in football. You speak to a lot of players in football, and there's not many who make history in football. There's a lot of players who play, but I've been quite lucky. There's certain things I've done in my own career that I have made history, which is a big thing for a footballer. People may not understand that, but you do. But that was one game that we could have made history. The game itself, I don't know what happened there, but the Welsh FA seemed to sell more tickets to Scottish fans and the Welsh fans for some unknown reason. Yeah,
it always seems to me that, I don't care about the Welsh FA to this day. I mean, I've got no sympathy with them, but even back in 1958, the way the FAW treated the players and everything, it just seems to be that they are them first. The players should always be first, not they should have been first.
I think...
That's just me.
I mean, there's lots of things that you could go on. We could go on and moan about the Welsh FA. Lots of things that we go on and kind of they treat the players second rate, as people say. But then again, as players, me as a player, I wasn't that bothered because I was just happy to be playing for Wales,
for your country.
Full stop, and that was the main aim of when we met up, and that was the main aim of every player that played it. We don't, we're miles away from what they do these days.
Yeah.
They fly in, fly out, fly in, fly out. We never even did that. We were like doing, I remember being at an airport where there was only 16 seats on the plane and 7 players went on one flight where the FA members went as well.
Yeah.
And 8 players left behind the airport. So another plane came along. So, I mean, you talk about things right or wrong, I don't know. But at the end of the day, I think that gave us more spirit as a team. That you've got to realise that the FA is the FA. Where we stand this day, you want football in Wales, you've got to have the FA, and that's got to be there.
Oh yeah.
And it's 100% better now than it was in my day.
Yeah.
And that's no disrespect to the people in my day, but they didn't know anything else. Now it's completely changed. So I got quibbles with the FA. They've been doing the right things. I get argued that when I was managing Barry, they try to change things at Barry, and I've had to go in front of the FA and fight Barry's cause.
Yeah.
I remember the day when we played TNS, the game was called off because it was pitch was waterlogged here.
I was going to say that famous waterlogged pitch.
Yes, and Barry and the FA said to us, we're going to go to TNS to play the game. I went, well, I'm not having that. So I went and seen Paula, told Paula. Paula said, you fight it, I'll take him to court. I said, Paula, there's no way we should be going away because it was 1-0 for the pitch was waterlogged. If it was something to do with our fans either fighting or causing problems and it was abandoned, I understand we had to go and play away. But they got that wrong. I fought the case and went to the FA on one night, stood up, said my piece, sat down. 10 minutes later, the decision came that we're going to play at Petr Janet Park.
And you went on to go and win the Welsh Cup.
And we had to win the Welsh Cup. So I mean, that's just, and they weren't very happy. TNS, Mike Harris and the manager at that time was, they weren't very happy with me at all. But that's what you got to do. But the FA is the FA at the end of the day, and. What can I say? I mean, yes, but they've only do what they could do.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I think. I'm not sure, but hey, it's the FA. But going back to Scottish game.
Yeah, with Jock Stein.
Scotland game, Jock Stein. Unbelievable night. We get a goal in front, and they get this mysterious penalty again. They get this penalty, and Paul O'Day Phillips is it handball? I suppose it'd be handball these days with VAR. There's no VAR in them days or whatever, and kind of the referee gave it, and we ended up drawing the game, and we needed the win. And next minute then, Jock, the atmosphere was unbelievable. The crowds were everywhere. It's full of jocks everywhere, and kind of like, and then the poor man keeled over and died, and it was just kind of saddened. And at the end of the day, at the end of the game, it was kind of. It was just, everything was just...
Yeah, football just went out the window because someone... Because no one, I mean, not even a player or anything like that should not go home after a game of football.
No,
That's the
I
stuff.
think, again, it's a situation of... See, after games, now it's different. I know it's different these days. After games, the players stay behind, and the next day they meet up and they have a recess of the game the night before, then they go off back to their clubs, or some go straight... In them days, we never did that. We played a game, and we'd be in our cars and bump back home to our houses and train the next day at our clubs.
Yeah.
So, and we never really had any time to reflect on anything after the game or a chat after the game because things were just going on and people were travelling here, there, everywhere.
Yeah. Did it feel weird that when Terry Orth became manager? Did it feel weird for you because you were playing alongside him? Now you're playing for him.
Yeah. It's a very, very strange situation. It didn't get personal between me and Terry. But we've had our times. We did play against each other sometimes, and I think he always thought I was a threat to his position, which basically I was in his position at the end of his career. I took over his position. I played against him at Tottenham when he was playing for Tottenham at the time as a young player at Palace, and we had words on the pitch, which words is words.
Yeah.
I'm not going to kind of. And then he became manager. Good manager, but he had some good players with him as well.
Yeah.
We go back to another squad then, when I first started with Toshak and Flynn and them, and then all of a sudden we get this a squad together then of Rush, Southall, Hughes, Ratcliffe, Nicholas, all these players who are playing top football.
Yeah.
And this is where we kind of, we had some good players, like Robbie James was a good player, Rick Kurt was a good player, Mickey Thomas, excellent player. So we had, we had Kenny Jackie joined the club, not the club, the actual the Wales.
It seems like it because it's like now a lot of people would say about the national teams always treated like club football because you got that spirit.
Yeah, we never ever had not had a spirit. I never ever would, hand on my heart would say that any game we played for Wales, home or away, that we never had any spirit. That was something which I would never say about it.
And you wouldn't go out there to deliberately lose a game or anything like that?
No,
absolutely no chance.
No. I was asked by one chairman in my life, Ron Knowles, who was the manager chairman of Crystal Palace, asked me one day, if I pay you your appearance money, and would I go and not turn up for Wales? I said, absolutely no chance.
I hate when one was I literally hate it when...
the stories we hear them days of Manchester United players been held back by Fergie and
a bit like Ryan Giggs,
and whatever. True or not, I don't know. But I tend to think they were more true than they weren't because of Fergie wouldn't worry about Wales. He'd be worried about Manchester United. So I can understand that. But
I would assume though. But with someone like Fergie, he should know better. If I knew him well, and I was a little bit older, let's say I was the same age as was back then, but I was in the staff and everything, and say he was the internationals were calling up and he was saying that, but I'd be going to him, you should know better. It's like, because you went on to manage Scotland. It's like, so you should know better. That's why I always get very frustrated with Ryan Giggs, because I asked Carl Fletcher this because he played with Ryan Giggs in the Nationals, and I said, did Ryan Giggs, because I wanted to get the bottom of it, because a lot of fans really point the finger at Giggs, and I always say, did Giggs ever show any disinterest on not playing for Wales, right? Did he ever just think, sod Wales? And Carl Fletcher told me that no, he always played for Wales. He knew where his roots were. He was born in Wales, so he's going to go and play for Wales. Not those exact words.
I don't think we should pick on Ryan directly there with the actual Fergie things. Don't forget Fergie. Manchester United did have a lot of players playing else anyway for England and things like this. And but the rumours were rife that he was like kind of coming up with these certain situations going on with international, players turning up for international teams.
Yeah.
But things like that. But as I say, it was just we always seem to always pick a squad, and we always seem to have good players coming through.
Yeah.
Over the years of the squads, and the time I played 11 years for Wales now, and I would never hand on my heart say we never really had a bad squad, and we were always punching our weight to try and qualify for something. Our biggest problem was that every time that we would have a squad together, we would, I remember playing Holland away. We played in Amsterdam. We had 9 injuries, and that was like 7 of them to the big players. Your Ratcliffes weren't playing, and it ended up, Nev was there, and we lost 1-0. Hullett scored a goal, and Nev saved us from like a 25-0. He was fantastic.
I want to ask about Big Nev, because I've met him a couple of times, and apart from Barry Town, I am an Evertonian. My dad's an Evertonian and that. So I met him a couple of times. Lovely, lovely guy. I can't say a bad word about Big Nev. I don't think anyone can. No. Maybe if his Evertonian buddies will, I don't know. But, there's something about him that is just awe of him, and like you said, that you only lost 1-0, and it's only because Big Nev saved the day, and even then, he was that talented that you can go on to lose 7-1 against Holland, years down the line. I blame Bobby Gould, I'm saying that now on audio, but he still gets man of the match, because it would have been a whole lot of a different game if he wasn't there.
I just think that Nev is just he's not a freak, I'll show you that now. He was just outstanding.
Yeah.
He was absolutely outstanding, and he was very, very underrated.
Highly.
Very, very underrated goalkeeper, and at his time, for the good 6 or 7 years, he was most probably the top 3 world goalkeepers.
Yeah.
I think. Because it was so amazing when, even in training, the lads couldn't score, and you have like Rushy and Sparky and all them boys hanging out ages after football, because Nev loved doing shooting afterwards. He just couldn't score. And I'm thinking, Nev, just let a few in, mate, just give the guys a bit of confidence. And he wouldn't let him in.
His determination.
He just couldn't score. Because he's like situation being, nobody scored against me. And that's what you want from goalkeepers.
I'm a goalkeeper, no one's getting past me. Simple as.
That's right.
Is there any funny story that sticks out in your mind during your time at Wales? Was there one where you go, oh, Jesus Christ, yeah?
Oh, we had many, we had quite a few actually. There's kind of, let me just think, there's kind of times when we've had to pull players. The time when I had this, we played Scotland away, actually the first game of that World Cup year. We up in Scotland playing, and we won that game 1-0, if you remember that game, but we won 1-0. I had this run in with Souness, tackled Souness.
Can't stand Souness.
And he tackled me, and to be fair, he hit me from like the ankle, he finished up and hit me in the head in the same tackle, so kind of, it was a bit of a ruthless tackle, and we took it, and I'm laying down. I just got up and we won the game 1-0, and we're in there standing in the hallway waiting for the bus to turn up, and Souness came in and walked up and apologised to me.
Never.
So he apologised. He said, "I'm sorry." He said, "You got me. I lost my head." I said, "No problem."
Yeah.
But we won the game, so that was more important.
Yeah.
That was
Souness,
important.
man. I mean, like.
Yeah. He was one of we had little run-ins times when I played at Arsenal for him against Liverpool and things, but we always had this times at Crystal Palace when we had kids like myself, Walsh, Terry Boyle. We would always have like a Thursday 5-a-side England versus Wales, and in the end, Terry Venables, the manager, used to drag us off because we ended up fighting each other. And we're teammates, like it was like a war.
Even if you couldn't speak Welsh, you'd be like, "What the bloody hell are they
no,
saying?"
That's right. So it's kind of a situation. But things with Wales, it's like there's lots of things that off the record I want to tell you about. Things that happen in hotels, things when players do stupid things. You could never leave your key on the table in a restaurant.
No,
because you get back and your beds will be out the window and.
Yeah.
Or some of your,
that rivalry is tense then, is it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah. So we kind of things like that. But with Wales, no, it was such a good. We should turn up on a Sunday afternoon. We do a little bit of training. Sunday evening, we go downstairs. We have a couple of beers together, whatever. Yeah. We wouldn't go out anywhere, and then Monday be ready for the game for the following Wednesday.
Yeah. So speaking of the rivalry with England, I'm going to mention the 4-1.
Yes.
With the racecourse, and it's. I've spoken to Mickey Thomas about this, and it's a bit of a fairy tale for him because Wrexham boy scoring at the racecourse for Wales against England. I mean, you just couldn't write it. Yeah. But for you, when you did you play at the? Did you start at the game? Yeah. So I was because I left my note in the community centre.
Okay. No
what was that like for you to go? Because I think that was the last time we beat England we beat England because it was like 20.
Yeah. I think it was a day where
Mike England started.
Mike England started his game. I was playing right back actually. I was marking Steve Copper, would you believe, who was ended up being my manager for a while, and then I worked for him as a coach for Palace. No, it was a moment where I think Ron Greenwood was manager of England.
Terrible choice in my opinion.
We had like Ian Walsh and David Giles up front.
Gilo, yeah.
Gilo was up front and played very well that day, Gilo. He ripped Larry Lloyd to bits.
Do you think, just very quickly, do you think Gilo should have gotten more caps than when he had got?
Capturing?
Yeah, in terms of...
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think the thing with David was a lovely... Oh, David was brilliant off the pitch. He was such a good entertainment, singing and things like that. Like, he was great in social side of the team. On the bus and things like that, going to games and that. It was so funny and relaxed. But, I mean, yes, I think, David was a very good player. Very, very good player. Again, he had to be in a club which suited his style of play. Mm-hmm. I think in them days there was a lot of teams playing a certain style which wouldn't have suited David's way of playing. Mm. But he came to Palace and he did okay. He did okay at Palace and he did great for Wales that day. It was just a game where we completely destroyed him. I mean, we really, every aspect of... You talk about, when you go to when you're into management, you talk about players going to play games. I've always said, you've got to compete at every position. And you've got to win, whoever you're playing against, you've got to beat that man that day. Mm. You've got to be on top of him. If you win your battle against him, you've done your job. And if 11 of us do that, we should win the game. Yeah. That's my kind of way of looking. Yeah. A part of winning football matches. Yeah. And that day was definitely that kind of day where we were guns blazing. We were up for it. Mike England was a completely different manager to what I've had before. Yeah. Because he just came back from America. He had a semi-American accent. But I tell you what he did want to do. He did want to win games. There's no getting away from that. Mike, I can understand him. I spoke to a lot of people about him when he was a player, and he was exactly the same. And Mike was a winner, and he wanted to win games. And that game, we were up for it. And I think that's one of the reasons why we won that game, because names don't come into play. Names, I think when you come to an international football and you're a regular, names you're not worried about. Yeah. You know players. You know, when we played, when we played the French team, we played them just for the European Champions or the World Cup, I think, and they went on to win the European League Cup or the World Cup. They had Platini playing, Chires playing. and we ended up winning the game 1-0, Wales. That was a very unusual. It was just a friendly, but we beat them 1-0, and it was like amazing. So names don't really worry you, because you're playing against them. The attitude's got to be, I want to just beat you today, mister. It's a bit like boxing match, really.
Yeah.
You're just not going to go in the ring thinking, well, you're going to knock my head off and just wait for that time. You're going to think, well, you're not going to knock my head off, and let's try and stop you from playing so well today. And at 11, if you do that, then I think you'll have a chance of winning the game.
Quickly mention then on some of the other clubs that you're playing for,
yes.
And obviously we already mentioned Crystal Palace, a few bits and pieces here and there. We're going to mention Arsenal and Chelsea now. Terry Neal. Yeah, with the...
Yeah, interesting. I was quite. I started at Crystal Palace at 15. I left Newport at 15. Went to school at Palace for a year. We had a fantastic manager, Malcolm Allison, at the time. If you don't, a lot of people do know Malcolm. He was a bit flamboyant, but miles ahead of the game. Miles ahead. Should have been England manager, I think. And then he left. Then Terry Reynolds took over, so we had Terry Reynolds. Technically, fantastic manager. As a person, 1-to-1, excellent man to know. Excellent man to know. Anyway, so I come to a situation at Crystal Palace where they all leave. We were labelled the team of the 80s because we had Kenny Sanson was in the team. I was Terry Fenwick, Jerry Murphy, Vincy Lair. We had all these players, Jim Cannon. They were all players, up and coming youngsters, very, very good players. So anyway, all of a sudden then the chairman leaves the club, the old club takes over, Ron Knowles becomes new chairman. So he came in, Dario Gradi took over as manager, so everything was quite new. We were all youngsters, it's all we wanted to do, just play football. There was no agents in them days, there was no kind of anybody with the kind of, you had financial people who looked after us in ways of, kind of for later in life, and which was very good. But with the takeover, things changed quite a bit. Anyway, so Kenny Sanson at the end of that season goes to Arsenal for £1 million, and Clive Allen comes to Crystal Palace. Then transfer deadline that season, I train in the morning at Palace. I go home. In them days, you should train at 10, finish at 12:30, and that'd be a lot really.
Yeah. In
the first team, the kids just train in the afternoon, but we never did much. And then I'd be at home. I got home for about 1:30, having lunch with my ex-wife at that time, and then the phone rings. It's the chairman of Crystal Palace Football Club. You'd come and see me down at the club straight away. Okay, so I go down and see the chairman of the club. So I go down with Mr. Ron Knowles, chairman. He says to me that we've got massive financial problems. We've agreed a deal for you to go to Arsenal. If you don't go, the club closes down tomorrow. Oh, right, okay, so I'm 20 years of age. I'm only a young kid, basically. So anyway, I'd signed for Arsenal that day. So I'm at this famous club, which is a massive, massive club compared to Crystal Palace. I mean, at that time, I think there was the third year of them in the FA Cup finals and things. So I've joined the club with Terry Neal and Don Howe, who was an excellent man, excellent coach. Terry I couldn't really work out. I think Terry's a bit soft. But at that time, though, Arsenal had a squad weren't, again, a bit like when I came to Barry, there was a few older players then who needed kind of, been there a long time, needed clearing out.
Not enough oomph.
No. So I joined this club and I was there 4 years. I got a serious knee injury in my 18 months into doing well, playing regular, doing okay. As a club, we got into Europe the first year. Second year, we got into Europe again. It was on the UEFA Cup. Wasn't like we weren't really patting on it to win the league or anything like that. I think we ended up 5th. I think one year then 4th. So then I got a knee injury, very, very serious knee injury, which I was out for about 4 months. At the time, then I was captain.
I think the skittle alleys can be used.
Okay, right, okay.
1 minute.
So anyway, so I got a serious knee injury, which knocked me. I was about 23 at the time. I just started. I had a couple of games as captain captain of Arsenal. And I was asked by Terry off to be my captain of Wales. Because Kevin Ratcliffe was in and out, and he was going through a bit of a period of injuries and things like that then at that time. So I took over as captain. So I had a bit of a rough time myself. I was out injured. Mental wise, I kind of didn't lose it. I kind of got very, very depressed, you know, kind of couldn't play the game. As the Wales were playing a few games, and I was missing them games. And I'd never missed a Welsh game before, like, you know what I mean?
And it's that
So,
pride that...
Yeah, so kind of like I came back, so all of a sudden Crystal Palace came back, so do you want to go back there on loan? So I went back there on loan. And that restarted my kind of like, not so much career, but restarted me playing properly again. And so I went back to Arsenal, and then in the end, Terry came in one day and said, listen, I've done a deal with Luton Town, do you want to go to Luton Town? Yeah. So I went to Luton Town, had a great time, David Pleat.
Was Andy Dibble there?
Andy Dibble was a young goalkeeper then, yeah. Yeah, he's a good lad.
Because I had him only for a quick moment for the podcast, and bless his eye, he didn't have to, but they went to Stoke at one point, I think it was last season, and he went, oh yeah, we'll still do it. He didn't even know how to use the Zoom or anything. And it's like, oh, we'll do it for half hour, some problem. And he went, you got my number, Rhys, we'll do another one.
Yeah, he's a good boy, Dibsy. Yeah, I speak to Dibs quite regularly, even now, like, you know, he knows at Cardiff for that. Yeah. But no, anyway, so went back there, went to Luton. Great time at Luton. Good team we had at Luton. Very, very good team. You know, Steve Foster came, I came, Mick Hartford came. So went to Luton, then I went to Aberdeen for a year with Ian Porterfield.
Get to the Scottish Cup final,
Get the Scottish Cup final, missed a penalty in that, so we lost the Cup final on that.
Dick.
I did, yeah, I was a right dick on that one, yeah. But no, that happens, hey. Listen, that happens. I played some good players there.
Yeah.
With Willie Miller and Alex McLeish, and then players who I played against for Wales against Scotland. Yeah. That night that Jock Stein died and things like that. So I knew a few players in them days. Went to Chelsea then. That was an interesting one. Ken Bates. Ken Bates is the chairman. Got on very well with him. Bobby Campbell was the manager. So great times, yeah. Chelsea, we won the league.
Was it you, Mickey Thomas and Joey Jones? Was it that one, or was that...
No, Joey and Mickey had left the season I came. They just left that year.
They knew you were coming then, was it?
Yeah, most probably, yeah. But no, they were in turmoil as well, because Chelsea were going through a bad period at that time. They were in Division 2, and they had no money. Their club had gone kind of bust, and you know, Ken Bates took over, and they were kind of like collecting money in buckets them days at Chelsea and things like that.
And you don't think of Chelsea like that anymore?
No, you don't. Oh, no. Nowhere near.
I mean, if you look at Chelsea like that now, you just think, what the frick? Something
that's
definitely...
right. Oh, definitely, yeah.
Someone either assassinated Roman Abramovich and took all his money, or it's the club burnt down, you know?
Well, it was a crazy situation, anyway. We managed to get through. Bobby Campbell was a manager. We won the league, and we had a very, very good side again. I think we won the league by 9. We had 9 points, and you know, we were promised a cruise to everybody with the families if we got 100, but we ended up going away for 2 weeks for the families and the players and the wives and that. And it was a good time, like, you know. So it was a great time. And then I ended up going from there, and I ended up going to Watford. My knees were really on the way out, and I went to Watford. Great club. Elton John was the chairman. Then he left, and Mr. Peachy took over, who was a very good chairman there.
What was it? Did you manage? Obviously, how long were you at Watford?
I was only at Watford for about 18 months.
18 months. But during that time, I know Elton John must have left around about that. But did you ever get the opportunity to meet Elton John a couple of times?
Yeah. Elton used to come in the change rooms actually before games. Okay, good. But I mean, it was like he used to come there. We'd be like, you know, tax or the shirts off and whatever. But he knew all our names and that. He knew he was good. You know, it was no problem. And then he sold the club. I think he had enough of it. Then he came back there with it, and new chairman took over. He was a good man. But I had Steve Petterman, and Peter Shreves was his assistant, which I knew Peter through Wales.
Yeah, because he was the assistant manager for
Terry Yoreth. So yeah, good. Steve Petterman was a good manager. Good. So I was quite lucky, very lucky. I had some very good coaches, some very good managers. I learned a hell of a lot off them.
Yeah.
And then so that's basically my, you know, there's lots I could tell you about Rhys, honestly, but we were going on for ages.
Yeah, no, that's fine. So you want to mention about, because I really want to know now, because from looking at the sort of the time period, let's just say, it says 2000 to 2001 on your on the resume, let's just say, of Barry Town. Now, I'll give you the opportunity. Why did you leave? What happened?
Right. I came to Ballytown in 2000, as you know.
Yeah.
And it was a bold move by me and a very, very bold move by the club. And I didn't know any of this till I really got my teeth into the club. That the club were very, very reliable on Paula's money as she was putting in.
Yeah.
You know, and that'd been going on for a number of years. Even her husband, before he died, passed.
Yeah, Neil.
Neil, they were the money bags of the club.
Yeah. They were saying as well that, you know, that Jeff McKinley, the club historian, he was telling me that the cracks were beginning to show. Even during the glory year, the glory years, even not even just your time, but even when Gary Barnett, the cracks were just slightly coming. You could see.
That's true. Yeah, I mean, it was a situation basically where it was like I came here and I don't want to get personal with players because these players I know now, but like they were playing for the club and the wages was just astronomical for a club like this. There's no get away from that. It was just the money they were paying out to have the players playing, and for them not to, and it was all down to Neil, the husband. You know, Neil's power, and he knew that, you know, if you want the best teams, you had to put money in and this and that. But it was just not stacking up. It's not the figures were not stacking up to what was coming in and what was going out. Kind of thing, you know, it was kind of, we got to put our hands in the pocket somewhere along the line, otherwise it's not going to, it's just going to. So I get to a point now where this has been happening. When I came, I cut the wage bill down. That was one thing I had to do because Paula did stress that. And when I came in, I looked at the standard of football that you were playing compared to the standard of football which I've seen in non-league in England or Division 4 at that time and Division 3 and 2. The wages weren't far off them teams. Yeah. And I'm thinking, what the hell's going on here, like? You know? Yes, it was great to win the league. Yes, you did get your money from Europe. Yeah. But then that would go, that's one thing I did find out, that would go even if it all depended on the draws you had. Yeah. I mean, us going to Azerbaijan, that just wiped out the money we won to pay for the Azerbaijan trip. Yeah. Okay, good job we won that, so we got more money.
Good job that you had Porter and everything.
Good job you had Porter and that. So kind of, there were situations there, the Bow Vista one was like, it was only paying the money for a certain couple of months of wages before they would have to put under the money. The bar here was doing very well. Yeah. I mean, I honestly, on a Monday morning, I used to go and meet Paula. I used to come in on a Monday morning. Mike was beyond the bar.
Mike Stringer.
Mike Stringer, lovely man.
He's actually working on the Tagros Hotel on the Bassett. Yeah. Right, yeah. There's a video of it. Well, I know you got Facebook, I know, but there's a video that circled out. There was a fight outside the Bassett. Nothing unusual about that, but Mike Stringer's in the frigging heart of it, trying to split it up. I was thinking, Mike, what are you doing?
So anyway, what the rule was, every Monday morning I meet Mike here about 8:30. And then I go and take the money up to Paula where she lived in St Nicholas. She just lived around the corner. I live in St Nicholas and she was living around the corner from me. And I go up there, see her, I give her the money of the wages of the bar for that take-ins or that weekend. Yeah. And I mean, this place was buzzing. Yeah. I mean, it was buzzing.
Oh yeah,
this place really helped the football side of things.
It still is, even to this day, you know. Yeah. But it's like my grandparents would always say, you know, it's like, oh, back in that. I know they always say, I mean, now.
Well, there was a lad coming here, I don't know if he still comes here now, but they had a machine here, up against the wall here. This lad would come in on a Friday, he put 600 quid in the machine.
Well, in the fruit machines, was
it? Yeah. And he won 500. And he won 500, he'd be happy as a lorry.
And a minus 100 profit. Yeah. Oh my God.
But that was only 1 week. Now the following week, he might not win the 500.
Oh my God.
That was it with all the points he was drinking and things like that. This place was absolutely rocking, mate. Yeah. And that was great. So, but we never really came in here. We were always next door.
Yeah, the Janus.
After games and things like that, and players came in, we always had the curry and rice and chips. And whatever. That was Barry. That was very famous. Everybody loved to come to Barry because of that situation. And Paul had been there cutting all doing curry herself. She'd bring the curry in.
Yeah.
She made from home herself and bring it all in. So she did get it. She did get her hands to it.
She was basically the mother to.
So anyway, I go and see Paul, and Paula knew football, by the way. She did know her football quite well.
Yeah, I was told she was a football lady.
And she quite strong. But we hit it off. Me and Paul hit it off because I think we knew exactly what standards we wanted at the club and things that we had. So anyway, that Monday morning I take the earnings up to Paul every week, every Monday. I sit and have a coffee in the house about 9 o'clock. I'm thinking I've got to go shortly, Paul. I've got training. She'd be up there, show me all the matches, the figures, and who we've got to play, and we've got to do this, got to do that. I said, listen, Paul, you can watch and show me as much as you want. It still don't get me results. The players got to get me results when we play matches. Doesn't matter what you want to work out of what we need to win the league. We need to get that target, but we still need to win them games.
Yeah.
She got to understand that.
Yeah.
But she said to me on a Friday, and on a Friday, she'd come down here after training, and me and her would go away for a meal. I'd have to drive her car. She had a big little white Mercedes Sports. I drive the car, we go for fish and chips. Now the crazy thing with all this is, the first time we ever did that, we used to go down to the Cardiff Bay, down to the fish and chip shop, the place in Cardiff. We used to have this, down the bay, have this fish and chip place. We walk in this restaurant, this is true. We walk in this restaurant, I sit in the chair, and she's staring at me. I said, Paula, what's up? She said, I just can't believe the chair you picked. She said, why is that? My husband, you sit in that chair every week.
Never.
Yeah. She said, we're going to go a long way. I said, well, let's wait and see. So I don't... She's quite a lot older than me, like, you know what I mean? So I like thinking, okay, yeah, all right. So she said, what team are you picking him on? I said, well, I'm not telling you. She said, well, this is the team I picked. I said, well, you can pick whatever team you want. I said, you're not going to get to know my team till tomorrow, till the team sheet comes out. And it was like that every week, and she was kind of like trying to get information out of me, and I said, well, I'm not telling you.
Yeah.
Let's get the result first, then I'll tell you afterwards. And that's what used to happen.
Yeah.
And then, but she was good. She was very good, very knowledgeable, very hard woman. Very hard, and I think one or two of the supporters used to get annoyed with her a little bit, or she was a bit harsh on them, but at the end of the day, she was putting the money in, mate.
Yeah.
You got to realise
whatever
that.
she says goes.
Yeah. Right or wrong. So anyway, so all of a sudden, it gets to a point there we won it. We would go and win it. We done the double. We win the league, win the Welsh Cup. We could have done the treble. We should have won the treble, really. We were by far a better team than Coach, but on the day, they were a better team than us. A bit like us in England and Wales.
Yeah.
You know, on that day, we were better. So I accepted that, and Fred was good luck to him anyway, Coach. And I like their manager because he's an ex-professional footballer, played for Wrexham and that.
Yeah,
and
Graham. Is it Graham Evans?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, his boy was a good striker. I tried to get him down here at one stage. So anyhow, I then go off and I have this strange phone call halfway through that season. Third season. Yeah, third season. Third season was. That must have been just before 2002. No, 2002. I have a phone call off Neil, one of the sons. I don't know if you know Neil.
Neil, I never know Neil Jr., no.
Yeah, well, Neil Jr. was a twin. He had a twin. And they were the children of Paul and Neil. So all of a sudden Neil says to me, can you come down to the offices? The offices were down in Cardiff. The engineering company they were running, and he used to run one up in North Wales as well.
All right, and then I thought they owned steel as well, didn't
Yeah, steel company, engineering company, steel company.
Oh, it's the same thing then, basically. All right, then.
Yeah. So I go down and see him, and he says, can you come down and see me? He said, everything all right? He says, yeah, okay. So I thought, okay, so I'll go down. And I sit down in the office here, yeah, nice big office there, and I said, well, is your mum in? She said, oh no, we don't need mum. I said, I don't really want her to know what I'm going to tell you. I'm thinking, Christ, what's there something wrong with Paula, like, you know?
Yeah.
So then he says to me, this is round about, it's round about something like November, something like that.
Well, November time, yeah.
He says, we need somebody to buy the club. So what do you mean somebody needs to buy the club? Well, you got a lot of contacts in football, you must know people. We need somebody to buy the club. Because we've only got money for the club till late January. Because we're going bust. My company, the steel company's going bust. I went, what? He said, yeah, we're finished.
Never.
I said, joking. I said, no. He said, we are absolutely gone bust. And within that month of that, all the boys who were all supporters of the gang some used to play for the club here.
Yeah.
They're all out of jobs, working for the engineering company or the steel company. And I just went bang. So I then put the feelers out of trying to get somebody to buy the club. And the vast amount of money it was going out for what was coming in was nobody was interested.
No.
So
I think it's the problem as well with a lot of things. It's like with the Welsh Premier League. You know, it's not like the Barclays Premier League where there's a lot of money to be invested.
No, it's not. No. I mean, that's another story which we could be here all night talking about the Welsh Premier League. They only just give us a certain amount of money every year off the FA.
Yeah.
And you say, there it is, you get on with it. If you want to use it, use it. If not, then don't come back for any more. You won't have any more.
Yeah.
So the problem being basically is that all these players playing for me, or for the club, not for me, with me, or on contracts, didn't mean anything. Didn't mean anything at all. I'm thinking, Christ, what am I going to do here now? What are we going to do? Do I say anything to Kenny? No, not at this moment in time, I don't. So I'm thinking, Christ almighty, what am I going to do here on this one? And this has nothing to do with football, really.
Yeah.
It's a football club, but it's a financial disaster.
Yeah, it's basically, you've got this thing where it's just crumbling in front of you.
So I think I got to go see Paula. I got to speak to Paula and see exactly what is going on here. So I give her a week, and she's not in contact with me or nothing. She's very, very sheepish, very, very, very kind of unapproachable. Like, you know, she kind of like just went in her own world.
Yeah.
Which is not like Paula, because she always pop in here 2 or 3 times, see everybody's going okay with the bar, or say hello to the players or whatever, like, you know. Especially on a Friday, she used to come down because she knew me and her go for a meal and talk about the match on the Saturday or what team we playing or whatever, and talk about arrangements, everything okay, do we need anything and whatever. So it's or a phone call away. Always had a phone call off on a Saturday night, well done, good result, you know, enjoy, and you know, start back Monday, things like that. Like. So anyway, so I left it. So I thought I've got to do something here because it's got to be crazy. So in the meantime, I've had an approach from Colin Addison at Swansea City. And he's basically said to me, I've got the nod to take over as manager at Swansea City. And I'd like you to come as my number 2. I was saying, okay. I'm thinking to myself, there's one man off the wage bill. So that'll help towards the players' wages or the players' kind of what they need or the club needs to keep them going. Kenny could take over as manager if he wanted to. So I kind of thought about it, so I'm thinking and all of a sudden then, out of the blue, this man rings me up, Kevin Green. He rings me up, he said, can we have a chat? I said, yeah. So I didn't know who he was. Somebody told me about him. I tried to find information out about him. He had worked at football clubs in the past.
Like Kidderminster or something like that.
Yes, and he has been kind of like the managing director of clubs, and you know, he knows how football clubs should run. But he had no money really.
No.
I knew that, but he was willing to try and finance the club as well as he could at that time. So I sat there with him one afternoon. I met him, he drove down, met him in Cardiff on my own. So I met him once, he said, I'm staying down tonight, can we meet again tomorrow? I said, yes. So I went home. So I went home and I spoke to Neil, and Neil Howe, and I said, listen, I think we've got somebody who might be interested in you. I think you need to meet him. So I arranged for them to have a meeting that next morning. Kevin spoke to Neil, and Neil basically would do anything to try and kind of, I won't say much get out of the club, just try and kind of save the club as much as they could before the real button pushed, like, you know, where they was like, because we were like dead. We were going to die straight away. Once that end of January came, they had no money, the money would stop.
Good night, Irene.
So then all of a sudden, I knew what would happen. I would be exactly the same. The players wouldn't want to play, which you can't blame them.
Yeah.
Because, you know, that's their life. And then when they got to have money coming in, they all had mortgages, they all got debts to pay, they all got money they need to live on.
Yeah.
And you can do that only, but only for a certain time.
Yeah.
So I said, so I have this next day meeting with Kevin. He says, right, it looks like I'm going to be buying the club or taking over from the club for whatever, or for whatever. So all of a sudden then he kind of sells me the club. He says, listen, I don't want you to go anywhere. I want you to stay. You are the main rock of this club. I don't care about. I'll put you on another contract.
Just moving again onto the just over. Actually, now it's a bit of sweet because we're overlooking Jenner Park now. Yeah, carry on. So you were saying about.
So I'm in a kind of situation now where basically I'm thinking I've got to start telling people I can trust at the club or what the situation going on. And first of all, straight away, it would be Kenny Brown, who. That was the office which I made into that one there.
Yeah.
Which is the manager's. Is that the manager's office now?
Yeah.
But that's what I did make that office because we needed somebody privately to talk, and we had a telly in there and things like that. We would watch games and whatever we played. So I had to say something because this is like I was sleepless nights, and I'm thinking, crikey, I've got like 22 people here who's like livelihoods of this club who we've kind of gelled into being Barrytown. This is the way we want to go, and contracts and God knows what. Then all of a sudden, without letting us out too early, because otherwise it was just kind of spiraled.
Yeah.
So I can't tell Kenny. He says, "You're joking?" I said, "No, mate." He said, "This is for real. This is absolutely gone ape shit, basically.
Yeah.
Gone fucking, pardon my language, gone absolutely ape shit. So kind of like we need to do something about it." So Kevin Green comes in, he takes over. So I thought, go on, we'll go with him for a couple of times. And then he kept going on about, we've got to cut this back, got to cut that back, whatever. So I said, so I pulled Kevin, I said, Kevin, I've had an approach from Swansea City to go there as a number 2 to Colin Addison. With the financial situation, I think if I, and I'm just thinking of the players, not myself. I weren't thinking about myself because that's nothing which that's the last thing I was thinking because I've done everything in my career in football.
Yeah.
Yes, I did want to go on to manage better teams in football, but that's your ambition as a manager and as a coach. You got to look to do that. So I ended up going. I left Barry. Didn't say goodbye too much to the players. I said goodbye to certain players. The rest kind of like. He's not going to be coming into the... Well, I actually came into I think, we had a meeting one night, or we had a drink one night and said, lads, listen, I'm going, blah, blah, blah. You all know this. That was when they knew about the situation.
Yeah.
And I said, we've done this, done that. Kenny said, I don't, not so much don't blame you, Nicho. It's sad and this and that to go and whatever. He said, so anyway, I went to Swansea. And that season, I think he went on and won the cup again. He won the league, and brilliant. Kenny kept it going, and he brought 1 or 2 little extra players that he fancied, and that's how it went. But after that, it just went.
Yeah.
I mean, the fashion news situation was laughable. I don't know where Kevin Green had got that from. I don't know, or he was part of that, or whatever afterwards. And then after that, it was just kind of a situation where the club basically folded, did it?
Yeah.
To that kind of level,
Yeah, I think it, in some ways, it's like a lot of people always debate about the sort of existence of Barrytown, because obviously it's not just Barrytown, it's Barrytown United now. But the thing is, going years and years down the line, which I've done a podcast before about it, the club never really folded because when...
No, I know what you mean. I wouldn't say folded, but they never
regained.
They never regained until Gavin has come in and they started to obviously they dropped down to certain levels. They had to start another certain level, which they've done. They did extremely well to get to where they are now.
Yeah.
And there's no getting away from that. And that takes time, and that did take time.
Yeah.
There's no getting away from that. And things, even with this time, even at the ground here, and you know, when I first came here, Barry were playing elsewhere, and they had problems with the ground here, using it and owning it, and God, all these things going on, and
Pandemonium.
oh, pandemonium! It was just crazy. Even them days, we couldn't play on one day because there was a kids' game going on here, or we couldn't train. We had nowhere. Training facilities was a massive problem to me.
Yeah.
Here, there's nowhere in Barry you could train. 3G, yeah, I agree with it, but it's not real football for me.
Yeah.
You know it. You know, and but it works for Barry Town.
Yeah.
There's no getting away from Barry United or whatever. It works for them.
Yeah.
And rightly so. Socially, financially, I would have thought it's better for him. Everything it works for him. Like most teams in this league now.
Yeah.
Who's got this situation? It is perfect.
Couple of last questions then, and
Yes.
so
Yeah.
grateful and
Yeah, no
honoured.
problem.
And I think you're the first Welsh international
Yes.
that I'm actually sat down with.
Yeah, no
it's all
problem.
been over Zoom and
Oh,
everything.
right, yeah.
That's why I tried to get my tablet died and everything. So what I was going to do was record it on my tablet, and
Right, yeah.
record it on my phone. But
Yeah.
couple of last questions. You're very well known as well as a Welsh Premier League winning manager.
Yeah.
Because you've won the Welsh Premier League with us.
Yes.
And you also won the Welsh Premier League with Llanelli.
Yes.
And I think Andy Legg was your number 2, wasn't
Yes.
he?
Yes.
So I think, obviously, you were manager at Newport, but I really want to know about Llanelli
Yes.
and, you know, the players that you brought in as well, some former Wales internationals yourself. I think it was like Steve Jenkins came in, and there was Rhys Griffiths, a young Rhys Griffiths come in.
Yeah.
Obviously Andy Legg and Jason Bowen, is it? Jason
Yeah,
Bowen?
yeah,
And
yeah.
some others. So what was it like to win and Gary Lloyd, you brought Gary Lloyd in, and so what was it like to win the Welsh Premier League with Llanelli? Because at the time, Barry Town were no more in the Welsh Premier League, but there was still a variety of Welsh clubs that were literally climbing this cliff to win the title.
Yeah.
You had your TNS, you had your Bangor, you had your Real, and obviously you had Llanelli. So what was that like?
It's a strange situation because I was in before I must go on to that Llanelli situation. I'll tell you now how I feel. When I came to Barry as a coach, and one thing I did want to do is I wanted to be the best coach in the world. That's why I think as a football person, I wanted to try and be the best player, break records, which I've done. I was lucky enough to be at one stage to be the most capped Welsh player ever, which is another history-breaking moment in my life. Now it's gone beyond that. I'm mostly number 8 or 9 in the Welsh records. Now I'm not really sure. I'll just drop there because they play more games now and things. I understand all that. But as coaching wise, that was the thing I really wanted to do, was to become the best coach. And I thought coming to Barry and doing that was kind of a learning curve for me. And basically looking at the situation now with me coming back to Wales, in a way, may have been a kind of a disaster for me.
Okay.
Because I joined Barry, and they went under. I joined Swansea, they go under.
They nearly go under.
They nearly went under. Then I made a little bit of a mistake at Swansea because I was asked to take over as manager when we were due to leave Swansea. Colin was a great man. You could only learn off Colin. That was one thing why I went with Colin in the end, to learn off him. And you couldn't only learn off him. He was a great man in coaching and management. You could just learn off him every day, which I did. But then, for some unknown reason, on a Tuesday, Colin came and said, listen, they've asked to sign new contracts to stay. I said, oh, good. But on a Thursday of that week, that was kind of taken away, and the club was folding. So for an unknown reason, I've never to this day never really asked Colin what was that all about. So when that happened, we were kind of let go of our contracts at Swansea. But in the meantime, a new man came in there, a bit like Kevin Green in a way, kind of.
Or is it Tony Petty?
Yes, Tony Petty came in and promising the earth, and never really had the dollar to do it, and a bit like Kevin Green to this club, and it was sad. But anyway, that happened, and after he left and this Little regime came, somebody came along and asked me would I want to take over, And for an unknown reason, I said no because I was staying loyal to Colin,
Mm-hmm.
and I perhaps shouldn't have. But that's things you learn in football in life. That's football life. So anyway, that was a problem with Kiss of Death at Swansea.
It was mad though because with Colin Hansen, he did come and manage Barry.
He did,
and that was his last club.
I know it was, yeah. I know. It was just
what a morton.
Unbelievable. So anyway, I leave by Swansea, and I sat at home one day, and Colin rings him. He says, "Listen, I had a very, very good friend of mine, the chairman of Llanelli Football Club's come on to me. Do you want to go down and coach him for a couple of months?" He said, "Only for a couple of months." He said, "Because they're struggling a little bit and they need a new manager." I said, "Where is it?" I didn't really know. Well, I knew about them playing against Sevilla, but they were always struggling at the bottom of the league. They've had Leighton James as manager a few years and whatever. They never really could crack it. But a good club, a nice stadium. There's not going to be from them, most probably, other than this one, I would say most probably the best stadium in the Welsh Premier at that time.
Yeah.
And there's one thing I would applaud with the Welsh Premier is that the conditions and the grounds have got a lot better over the years that I've been out of it. Don't think the teams have, I'll be honest with you, but that's another thing we can talk about later if you want. I've got my issues on that one, but looking at so I go to Llanelli and I managed to keep them up, went to TNS, I beat TNS. I think we came and played Barry, and I think we lost 4-0, 3-1 or something to Barry, which is understandable because they were a better side. There's still going to be from that. We were just kind of playing, break up the goals and see before Emily Barry did not score against us, one of them, But so we did that. So I left there and went to Newport. Did okay in Newport, but it was a new directors there, and they all left again. Kiss of death to me there. So I left there in the end. Not on good terms really, because we were doing okay and they thought they were going to do something better, which they never did really, until they got the fans took over, and they've done very well the last few years. Flinny got a promoted, or Justin Edinburgh got a promotion, and Flinny got in and done a great job, and good luck to Michael. We got a lot of time for Michael. But anyway, so I'm invited back to Llanelli as a number 2 to a Spanish manager they had there. Some Spanish players, good team, good manager. The manager left for some unknown reason. He had a discussion and the chairman asked me to take over. So I took over, rearranged the team, looked at the team. I kept the Spanish boys on because they were good boys in that league. And then I started hunting round for players who I think could improve the team, which I knew about. I knew the league then. I knew that the younger players who were around. So the chairman there was a bit like the Barry chairman. He had a couple of quid. He was willing to put his money where his mouth was, which he did, and we managed to become a full-time club. I got this formula, which I've not told many people about, which I believe that clubs in this league could do more of and become full-time with a formula I've got. But I'm not going to tell you over this conversation.
No, I'll do it.
We'll do it because this is a formula that works, and we did it at Llanelli and it worked. Anyway, so become full-time. So I say to the chairman, he said, "Right, what do we need?" I said, "Well, we need the best striker." "Who's the best striker?" "Rhys Griffiths." "Can we get him?" "Yes, we can." So we spoke to Rhys. Rhys came to Llanelli, fantastic goal scorer. Scored 50 goals in his first season.
So Cwmbran, I think it was, isn't it?
He's a Cwmbran. So I've looked at 1 or 2 other people. Gary Lloyd, get Gary Lloyd, local boy, blah, blah, blah.
And his father played
for his dad was a lovely man. Let's get him in, Lloydie. So we got him in left back, great experience, greatest penalty taker ever in this life. I don't think he's ever missed one, I don't think, but he never did with me anyway, so I was pleased with that. So we got ourselves a team together. So I'm looking at the league situation now, and we that season, the first season I took over the manager, we came second, and we were 22 points behind TNS. And these are the things that I look at. I don't know if you fans may not, and this is what this club know. You're fourth, but you're like 24 points behind TNS, or you're 25 points behind Connors Key.
Yeah.
And I can believe that. How are you going to make that up? if you want a challenge, you're going to make that up.
Yeah.
Because they're not going to come backwards.
No.
They're always going to strengthen. But that's something Gavin's got to work out, nothing to do with me.
Yeah.
And that's what I looked at when I was a manager of the Llanelli. I've got to get 22 points before I even think about winning the league.
Yeah.
The season later, I won the league by 11 points. Seeing us lose.
You give him the big V sign to Mike. I was like, fuck off, mate.
Yes. Yeah.
My man.
But me and Mike are good friends, but but we weren't then.
Oh, yeah.
So I finished 11 points in front that season. So that's the way I looked at the improvement of what you need to win this league in this country. So at this moment in time, I don't think, and I'm not being big-headed because I'm not a big-headed person, but I don't think a lot of people realise I'm the only person ever to win the Welsh League, Premier League, or the Welsh League with 2 different clubs. And that's not easy. There's nobody else has done it. I
don't think so.
No.
And I mean, I've done my research and everything, and I don't think no one's ever...
And people say to me now, why aren't you in the league? One, personally, I'm fed up with a fucking drive up to North Wales on the coach.
Don't, because we've got to go to TNS this Saturday.
Don't quote me on that, but that's one thing I do miss. But don't forget them days with midweek play. If you're in the cups and all that, like we were challenging.
I'll tell you one thing, right?
So that was used to do my head in.
Yeah.
Well, the second thing is, I must admit, and I do believe it, the standard of football's dropped. The standard of football has definitely dropped. And I do think it's time for change in the league now. There's 12 or 14 teams in the league. It's got to change.
Well, do you know what? I agree with you. A lot of people say, "Oh, it's getting better."
It's not.
I'm thinking, well, where's the betterness?
It's not.
Why is there 12 teams in the league?
Yeah.
But why
it's
you?
Become a very, very. And this is to us personal now, because I don't want you putting this out, because I might get done. Well, I don't give a shit anyway. But at the end of the day, I think it's become very northern league.
Agree. No, I completely
There's no
agree.
Mid Wales league no more. There's no Mid Wales teams no more.
No,
basically.
I think the only Mid Wales team is Newtown.
Yeah, and they're bang average, really.
Yeah.
Bang
Or
average.
maybe Aberystwyth, but then again, they've always been a
Bang
mid-table
average.
team.
But the thing is with Aberystwyth, they think they're better than what they are, and they never have been.
No. Well, I've always said though they've always been.
Because they won that league one year, and I was going back donkey's years.
No, I don't think they've ever won.
They've won a cup, maybe the Welsh Cup.
Oh yeah, maybe Welsh.
Whatever, but I honestly believe, and I do, I swear, the standard has dropped big time, and the league needs to change urgently. And the other thing, which pisses me off, and everyone ever going to learn, everybody complains, we haven't got enough time to prepare our teams for the European Championships, the European Games. To me, it's a load of bollocks. Now, that is a load of bollocks now. I had that when I was here. That's going back 20 years ago.
Yeah. When I was 5.
And it hasn't changed.
Yeah.
We're all now last year,
Yeah.
and no disrespect to Barry, right? And I watched the game, and yes, it was terrible conditions. We both same for both teams, and the excuse came out. We couldn't prepare for that game. Now you could ask for better time than last year, with a shutdown, because everybody was in the same boat. It's all about organising the teams properly, knowing what you got, and knowing the players you got, and changing them to say, get yourselves ready, because we've got a European thing coming up this year. You get yourselves ready for it. All this crap about we only got 3 weeks of training. Last year you had a better excuse than anything. You could have trained every day last year if you wanted to. If you did things properly, isolation properly, and all these different things. But it didn't happen. And all of a sudden I get it again this year. I get it again this year at Newtown. I get it again this year with somebody else saying, "Oh, summer soccer." Summer soccer. I said to them, day one, even the first season I came here, the Welsh FA should have gone summer soccer. Why not give it a go?
Why do you think summer football should be a thing then? Just lay it on me.
Because of supporters. Supporters don't want a break in football. I know players may do, but I don't think in this league they do, because they only play 35 games. Okay, you play the cup, you can play 40 games. 45 games maybe.
Yeah.
That's nothing. To have what we used to play down here, but I think we played with 70 odd games one season. If you want to win things.
Yeah.
If you don't want to win things, then fair enough. But you wouldn't have me as a manager if the chairman says to me, "I don't bother me with." Well, you won't have me as a manager.
Yeah. You want that winning attitude.
Well, it's got to be right through the club.
Yeah.
But I do believe that these teams, and I know there's money going in. Everybody says, listen, everybody, Aberystwyth, Barry, I know what goes in. There is money being spent. But it's being spent the wrong way. And I'm really, really honest about that.
Yeah.
But I do think that this 12-team league is a joke. Because it's become a very northern league.
Mm.
Where's your Paul Talbot's gone? Where's your Cumbrans gone? Where's your Avonlido's gone? They were hard games for the southern teams because there was a lot of rivalry going on.
Yeah. Especially as well that you did have the proper following of supporters as well.
Of course you did. You're batting against Paul Talbot, fucking hard game. Llanelli, Paul Talbot, hard game. Carmarthen, hard game. Llanelli, Carmarthen, live next door to each other. Hard game, Boxing Day.
Yeah.
You don't get any of that no more.
No.
It's gone. I think it's time for change. The TV situation.
That's what pisses me off. Scoria always has more of a... Do you know what? I say this now, Pete. Right? No disrespect to Scoria.
Why do they have Mark Jones and Tommy on there and they say, no disrespect to the players, but they do say, God, that boy played for Barrier. If that was Lionel Messi, see, he would have got the world. You can't fucking compete Lionel Messi to anybody who plays the Premier League. Come on, boys. You're just trying to sell the bloody... And then all of a sudden, they will say, good pass, and the ball's fucking kicked out of the stand. And they'll say, oh, that's a good pass. Oh, well, it wasn't a good pass. Well, why say it? Learn your job and do it properly.
Yeah.
Scorio needs a fucking revamp, I think.
Yeah. The one thing I believe that Scoria is... Because I've only just found out about this a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
Right? Scoria have the rights to Cymru Premier football,
Yes.
right? But they don't have the rights for when European football comes on their door.
Yeah.
The clubs do, right?
Yes,
But the thing is, this is what really gets up my nose, right? It's the fact that TNS, Bala and Conisky, they are guaranteed they'll be live on television. Well, where the fuck is us? I mean, no disrespect. I know Barry. I mean, I'm being biased, but we're hardly on telly anymore.
Yeah, but this is where, see, this is where your Mike Allisons come in and the chairman of these clubs come in because they all stick together.
Mm.
Now down south, who have you got now? You got Barry.
Yeah, you got Barry.
Who else?
Penabont. Cardiff Met.
Cardiff Met.
And that's it.
Yeah. Look at the strength they got. They got Flint, TNS,
Conisky.
Carnarvon. They got big power players, big power teams, mate.
Yeah.
Well, most of them are good support as well.
Yeah, especially Carnarvon as well.
Yeah.
1,000 a game.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying to you. So, you know, it's now got to change. Because teams like Paul Talbot and them have got to start coming back again, mate.
Yeah.
Or something's got to change. Something's got to start coming back here because the league, they go on about the league. I'm going to quote you now, right? It's most probably the worst league in Europe.
Yeah?
Well, what's worse than it then?
Probably a Gibraltese or a Maltese side or some San Marino.
Well, you look at their stadiums where they play at. They're not bad stadiums, you know. They got.
I thought all the Gibraltese teams play in one stadium.
Well,
even the international one.
Yeah, but but you're not talking about the vast number of teams they got to play in these countries compared to Wales.
True.
But our record is the worst.
In Europe, yeah.
Yeah. So, what are we doing wrong? Something's got to be changed for that to happen. And the only way for that to happen is to get more teams into this league to get more players.
Yeah, and to be more competitive.
I want to have a pick. I want to be Barry Town, right? I'm manager of Barry Town like I was.
Yeah.
All I was Llanelli thinking, right, Flint Town, I want to be arguing, I want to sign up. Someone say to my chairman, they got a good player, I want him to come play for Barry Town.
Yeah.
You don't do that no more.
No, because you got to pay for their travelling and everything as well. Everything's always mounted on top.
Well,
you say you're paying someone, I don't know, 300 quid a week, right? But then you got to pay for their travelling expenses, which is what? So including training and a game, right? That's got to be another 100, 150 on top of that with petrol money and everything. Yeah. And then maybe goal bonuses or something like that. If these clubs actually do bonuses, right, which I reckon they do, then that's on top of that. So you're basically paying 400-500 quid a week.
So that's what I'm saying to you about. That's what I'm trying to say to you. That's where we need to get more teams, because if we had more teams, right? Tell me a player from outside the Welsh Premier League, Barry is not signed, or on loan from Newport, Cardiff, or Swansea.
What was that question again?
Tell me somebody who's played the Welsh League team that Barry signed the last 2 years.
Sam Bowen?
No, he plays at Cardiff City.
But he was on loan to us.
Yeah, he's on loan. No, but what I'm saying...
Oh, it's proper sign.
I'm talking about... Right. Cardiff football used to play Saturday afternoons. Used to have good players in there. When was the last time you signed a player for them kind of leagues I'm talking about? That's what I'm saying. It's the same... Why aren't you signing... You got anybody at Llanelli you fancy? Now, Llanelli... I've just let a boy go. He just signed for Wolverhampton last week, 19-year-old.
Yeah.
Wolverhampton Wanderers. Why aren't you playing at Barry?
Beats me.
So the system at Barry... I'm not just picking on Barry, it's just an example.
Yeah.
This is the example of a normal club. They got the players. They got the players of North Wales, because they're getting them in from like. Why aren't we getting anybody in from Newport who plays at Newport?
Because if you look at it now, it's like Newport have signed.
There don't seem to be any system anymore down south to get anybody players other than on loan from like Cardiff, Swansea, and Newport.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, I thoroughly enjoyed my football career. Been all over the world. Had some great experiences. Been to most countries that a lot of people haven't been to, and played with some fantastic players. And can only look forward to it, really. Injury wise, I have suffered now because of, what injuries I've got now, and arthritis and metal knees and things like that, which you've got to put up with. These most footballers I speak to have either got hip or knee problems or ankle problems. But as I say, the game now has completely changed, and when we played and at every aspect, and I love watching the big games. I don't watch so much, I wouldn't say lower football, but football league so much these days. I go to Cardiff now and again, but I always go to Welsh games. I like watching Wales play. I think that's one thing great. I went to the Euros on my own back and paid my own tickets and that, and had a great time there. That was good. But other than that, no, as I say, I thoroughly enjoyed my career.
This podcast is sponsored by DRC Group Limited. DRC Group Limited is an official waste management company based in Cardiff. If you have any waste that needs to go and can't find the appropriate business to do it, look no further than the DRC Group boys. They will provide you with the best service and positive attitude when it comes to solving your waste issues, and these guys are available throughout the week. If you want to get in contact with them, you can look them up on all their social media platforms on Twitter, Facebook, or even Instagram, or even phone them on their number at 07837 256 124. Again, if you want to contact them on all their social media platforms on Facebook, Twitter, or social media, or even their phone number is 07837 256 124. If you're looking for the best quality service and the right people to get rid of your waste, then again, DRC Group Limited is the business for you.